This is eyewitness testimony now, indisputable. Whatever was in there had gotten completely portaled out.
In 2015, paranormal expert Mike Hallowell was called in to reinvestigate a bizarre missing persons case that was originally reported by a police officer in August 1971. The report stated that late one summer evening, 5 teenagers converged on the ancient ruins of Stonehenge to tap into the vibrations. After setting up camp within the stone circle and starting a small celebration of sorts, a flash of lightning lit up the sky. A violent storm quickly followed. The teenagers carried on, but as more lightning bolts struck trees and then the huge stones themselves, they ran to their tents for cover. Things then took a dark turn. A local policeman on patrol reported that the stone circle was surrounded by an eerie blue light. The ruin quickly became so bright he had to shield his gaze. Moments later, he heard blood-curdling screams coming from the middle of the circle, and then nothing. The teenagers disappeared. If this police officer's report can be believed, is it enough evidence to convince skeptics that there are more to the supernatural stories surrounding Stonehenge than mere folklore? Researcher David Wilcock talks about another witness who saw this shocking calamity.
A farmer who owned the land where Stonehenge was upset because a group of hippies were camping out inside Stonehenge. And he called the police. So the policeman and the farmer are walking towards Stonehenge, and as they do, they see lightning hit the stones. But instead of it just shorting out on the stones, this very strange thing happened where a glow starts to form inside Stonehenge, and very quickly, the glow went from kind of a bluish to a bright white. And it was so bright that the ball of energy literally reached the edge of the outer ring of stones. The farmer and the policeman start to run towards this because there's this flash, and then the light is gone. This is eyewitness testimony now, indisputable. Eyewitness testimony is provable in a court of law. Whatever was in there had gotten completely portaled out.
Is there something more mysterious going on at Stonehenge than has been suggested?
Stonehenge is one of the great enigmas of the ancient world. In the 1960s, an American astronomer by the name of Gerald Hawkins came up with a wonderful theory. He believed that Stonehenge was a great stone computer, and that its purpose was to predict eclipses of both the sun and the moon. There are also other alignments towards prominent settings of the sun and the moon, and many other features which showed that it was something which was clearly built with an ancient wisdom that went back many thousands of years.
If Stonehenge was a massive computer, is there a code still waiting to be discovered? Maria Wheatley, a leading authority on the geodetic system of Earth energies and one of England's master dowsers, explains the stone circle's connections with energy grids.
For many years now, ever since I was a child, my late father guided me through megaliths and through dowsing, and that's really trying to get to the energies that influence and set the foundation plans of ancient sites. My family inherited master dowser surveys and papers from going back to the 1930s, so I have a wealth over 80 years of research at my disposal. One of the first things about Stonehenge is we are so familiar with the monument having those huge trilithons and being this perfect circle containing 30 megaliths with 30 lintels on top. Now that is called Stonehenge Phase 2. It was, according to Orthodox archaeology, built around about 2500 BC. Stonehenge Phase 1 was very different. It was an entirely different monument. So we should visualize a huge earthen ditch and chalk wall bank. Now this chalk wall bank is a bit like bricks, how you see modern day houses built in the UK, for example. And that wall, that chalk wall, was 10 feet high. Stonehenge was a secretive place. You could not see inside of the monument. Now, inside of the monument, should you be allowed to go in there for ritual or for ceremony, then we need to see 56 highly polished blue stones. These are stones that are from about 6 feet high, so highly polished that they appear like the midnight star-spangled sky. Sir Fred Hoyle was considered Britain's royal astronomer. He was a very good intellectual guy. Now, in the 1960s, he proposed that Stonehenge was an eclipse predicting computer. So he devised a method by using just 3 or 4 markers, and markers were moved to represent the moon's north and southern nodes. It was easy to predict for the ancient people when a spectacular event was going to happen at Stonehenge. Back in phase 1, every 18.61 years, something truly beautiful happened. From the center of Stonehenge, you could see a blood-red moon rise above the hailstone, the eclipse. So why were the ancients so fascinated with the eclipse? My research into earth energies, like my late father before me, and other master dowsers such as Hamish Miller, have all pointed out that at the moment of the eclipse and just before that, the earth energies become silent. The electromagnetic energy that they emit goes to 0. So it must have been very important if they were generating electromagnetic energy from lays that kind of transmit the energy, then the whole system would have gone silent. And a bit like computers today, it would need to reboot just after the eclipse cycle. So I feel that's why our ancient ancestors were recording eclipses at the Stonehenge computer phase 1.
A stone circle that was a rebooting system? What kind of system could this ancient circle be linked to? If Maria's hypothesis explains the significance of these underground linear lines of force, could deciphering the mysteries of Stonehenge lead us to understand the secret technologies of the ancients?
We think, generally speaking, that a lay is a straight line that runs through the ground. And some lays are astronomical and they point to an astronomical event, like the rise of the midsummer sunrise, for example, or a setting moon phase. That's a celestial orientated lay. Then you have other lays that are just topographical, and they don't have any energy and they just link site after site across the ancient landscape. So we need to think of lays as being different categories. Some have energy, some don't. Then we can come across what's called a lay system. And a lay system is a straight line in the landscape that has meandering currents entwining it. So let's visualize for one moment the caduceus symbol that paramedics wear still today. It contains a straight line with 2 serpents entwining it. One is male and one is female. And when we look at the ancient landscape, that's what's going on. You have a straight ley line, and ley systems have a meandering male current and female current entwining it. Now, these leys, once you project them around the globe, become a great circle. And the ancient Celtic Druids who inherited the information of the Bronze Age always said in their literature, there are 12 mighty circles that go around the globe. And one of these mighty circles that go around the globe is exactly at 51 degrees latitude. Stonehenge is sited precisely at 51 degrees 18. And that's where the only place on the British Isles where the summer rising sun at midsummer sets at an angle to the moon set at its northerly phase, creating a right angle. So Stonehenge was on that latitude of 51 degrees. The ley flows through that at 51 degrees. The heel stone is sited at 51 degrees of latitude. Now this ley then links in not just to that latitude, but to where the planets were positioned in the sky around about 2700 BC.
Astronomers agree that in the year 2700 BC, the planets and stars would have aligned perfectly to reflect the stone placements at Stonehenge. When we study the celestial records of the ancient world, it becomes obvious that the people of Stonehenge were calculating the distances between sacred energy sites and planets, then recreating these dimensions by setting stones in the ground on Earth. But to what end? What was the relationship between these gargantuan stones and the planets above them?
There is a theory that in addition to the influence of the sun and the moon and the power of the eclipses, that Stonehenge has a connection with the influence of Saturn. This comes from a theory that was proposed, I believe, in the 1980s originally, that the inner so-called horseshoe of stones that are made of bluestone, which comes from Wales, which is hundreds of miles away from Stonehenge itself, reflected this influence, and that because they were directional, they sort of pointed towards the influence of Saturn.
Now, if we visualize this on the ground, we need to see that Stonehenge represents Saturn, and it has 30 lintels going around it. And Saturn takes exactly 30 years to make one round of the zodiac. Any astronomer and an astrologer will tell you that's called a Saturn return. It's a 30-year cycle. So I feel that's why there was 30 lintels at Stonehenge. Our ancient ancestors did everything for a meaning. Nothing was by chance. Everything had a metaphysical and a physical property in the ancient world of Stonehenge. We need to now imagine along that line, going further along it, that there was another ancient site called Marden. Marden was a superhenge. Den is an old English word for settlement, and Mars means Marden, the settlement of Mars. And that's where Mars was situated in the ancient landscape and brought down to Earth. They were bringing heaven to Earth. Moving further up the lay, you have the sun and the moon represented by Avebury-Henge, which contains the largest stone circle in the world.
As Stonehenge slowly falls into ruin, scientists are digging deeper for answers about the true purpose of these stone megaliths.
If you like this video and you want to see more amazing content, go ahead and check out the next video on our channel.